if you're feeling like the start of a new year is overwhelming and you're feeling all of this pressure, like this person said, to reinvent myself and make changes, I would, offer you the permission to let yourself off the hook. Just because the calendar switched from December 2025 to January 2026 does not mean that you have to, do all of these things right now. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Life Happens with Barb and Michelle. We are, as always, so grateful that you are back listening and watching with us this week. It is the last week of the month. We're closing out January of 2026, which is wild, which means it's a Q&A episode, which I know you love, Mom.
I do.
And I love them too. So we're so grateful to all of you who have sent in questions, asked us things that you want us to clarify or go deeper on. We've spent this month talking about practices and habits and nourishing tools to help us start the new year, but also to keep us connected to ourselves, our own best friend. And it's been a really fun month having these conversations, and I'm excited to dive into the questions.
Yeah, I took a little peek at the questions. They're amazing, as always.
Thank you looked at them?
I did. A peek.
Okay.
Just a little peek, because I know you like to surprise me with them, but very thoughtful, very heartfelt. And just really, you can tell that, I don't know, I just feel like we're taking this year a little bit differently. I don't know.
The vibe is different for sure.
The vibe is different this year, and I'm not sure if I would really quantify it with any other adjectives, but the vibe is different, and I think we all are, really, like, I don't want to say sinking in. That's what
I was very curious to hear what word you were going to use.
We're all really like grounded. That's the word I'm looking for, not sinking in. Like feeling really grounded in this year, that we're going to control and have the power to do what we can do in this year, and let our work and our actions and our efforts and our intentions lead the way. That's how I feel.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
For
So I'm
you
really
and for us.
Yeah, I do. I just feel that energy. So I'm really looking forward to hearing the questions.
Yeah, I'm excited. So let's dive in. Starting off, starting a new year always feels stressful for me. I feel like I need to reinvent myself and make a bunch of changes really fast. How do I approach this year with less stress and do a little more acceptance of myself and my life? It's a good one for this month. I feel like I'll let you share what you were thinking, but this reminded me of something someone shared with me on social media a few years ago at the beginning of the year, where I think we were talking about intention words and that practice that we've discussed this month, but they said that they really wanted to focus on accepting themselves rather than using this time to change themselves. And that was really powerful to me, because this is a time where we do often feel pressured to find our weak points and improve upon them, even with the best intentions. It can be a painful, vulnerable process. So I think even the way this question was worded, it sounds like whoever wrote this kind of already answered part of it for themselves with using the word acceptance, because I think that is a very powerful intention word and practice, especially now in the new year.
I love that, Michelle.
Go ahead. Take it away.
No, I love what you said. It's so true. And what I was hearing, I think mostly when you were reading that question, I'm thinking we really need to change the language and the vocabulary and the words that we're using. I obviously been there. We've all been there. I think this question is universal. I don't know if there's a person that hasn't thought about, how do I need to change myself? And as I've gotten older and as I've moved along in my own practice, I don't look at myself as needing to change anymore. I guess there's nothing wrong with that word. I'm not saying that that's a bad word or, oh my gosh, don't use that word. But there's something about the language that we've been using lately over the past few years in our practices and in the things that we teach in workshops. Like, we're here to learn and grow and become.
Evolve
And become the greatest version of who we already are. So for me, I think in my practice and thinking about, I already am extraordinary from the inside out. And we talk about that all the time. I say that all the time. I believe that with my whole heart, with all of us. It's just society and everything is covered up with so much stuff. And we have to uncover all the things that really make us how amazing we already are and how to help us see the choices and the actions that we need to take. So I think instead of changing myself, maybe change that vocabulary. And I want to be more curious about what are some of the other options that I have to grow more, to learn more. I think curiosity, expand more, become more, and really start to, I think the episode we had with becoming your own best friend. How do I deepen the practice of loving myself more, being more compassionate with myself, honoring who I am, so I can start to see the places in my life that need to morph, which is obviously another word for change, or that where I need to grow or where I need to learn more. I can start to see, oh, this is where I could learn more, or this is what I could do differently. What are some choices that I could make differently? So that we're not, I feel like when we're trying to change ourselves, when we're using those words, I need to change myself, it's like a full-on reconstruction process. Like I got to go in and like
A
do
home renovation.
a home renovation. I got to go in and do a whole upheaval, and I don't even know where to start because I think it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
If I said I need to change myself,
Yeah, you're right. That
I don't
is
know where I
very
would start.
overwhelming.
And so I would start probably because I am recovering from bulimia for 40 years. I would start with, well, how does my body look and what do I need to do? It just is very overwhelming and too much. So I would suggest thinking of maybe just sitting in quiet, with yourself for a few minutes and just say, what do I really want? Like, what is my deepest desire for myself for 2026? What would make me happy? You always ask this question of me a lot. Well, Mom, if you knew what you wanted to do, how do you want to feel? Like, how do you want to feel? And maybe ask more instead of a generic, I need to change myself and make all these plans and make all these changes, maybe hone in on what would be a couple things that I could do that would really make me happy this year. Or getting curious. What are some things that I would love to do that I've been putting off? And then looking at, okay, now what actions could I take?
Yeah, I love that.
I don't know. I just think it's more gentle. I feel like
For
2026 is to be a gentle year. And mostly gentle and kind to ourselves. So did I answer the question, you think?
Yeah. And what came up for me, three things came up for me as you were talking and thinking about this question. The first one being that, and I think we've said this in other episodes at the beginning of the year, is like, if you're feeling like the start of a new year is overwhelming and you're feeling all of this pressure, like this person said, to reinvent myself and make changes, I would, offer you the permission to like let yourself off the hook just because the calendar switched from December 2025 to January 2026 does not mean that you have to, do all of these things right now. I know that it's kind of a societal trend for resolutions and even intentions and goals and all of that, but just know that it's a new day and you can make your own rules when it comes to how you decide your own benchmarks and check-ins with yourself. And so if it feels too much right now, you can say, maybe I'm going to check in with myself February 1st instead, because right now it's not feeling right for me. And you often in years past will say, you know what, January is a little bit too hectic. And I feel like it's often March, like March 1st, where you're like, all right, now I feel like it's the new year. And that I can really kind of start again. So it's like, get into the rhythm with yourself, and you don't have to be on anyone else's timeline.
And that's why I think that just to interject, because this is so brilliant, Michelle, because that's why I feel like this year feels a little more grounded for me, and I'm feeling the energy of being grounded because I've really not had this expectation that I have to upheaval everything.
Yeah.
So I've been taking it little bitty bite sizes and really looking at, okay, what do I want to learn this month? What am I curious about? What do I want to do? So
Yeah.
I love that you said that, because I'm not feeling pressure this month.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling like, wow, I love that person said, I have to reinvent myself. I mean, that's a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I love that you said that. Like, take your time.
Yeah.
And get curious about one thing.
Yeah, that's great. The second thing that came up for me when they said about they need to make a lot of changes, what came to me is, we talk about so often, like the only thing in constant in life is change. So if you're feeling like I reference this in another episode this month, like there's times where I get stuck in like Groundhog Day mentality where I'm like, nothing ever changes. Remind yourself that that's just not true. Life is constantly changing. You are constantly evolving. You just might not be recognizing it. And so maybe it's a signal to kind of journal or check in with yourself and take inventory or take stock of the past few months, the past year, and really see, wow, I'm telling myself one thing, but that's really not true. Even if I didn't tick a bunch of boxes on my last year's resolution list or achieve some of those big life goals, like you have evolved. Change is always happening. And so if you're craving change, maybe sit with yourself and see like what has actually changed for you and notice that it's not something that you necessarily always have to put in action because change is always happening. I mean, obviously for goals and dreams and desires, like we have to be in active creation and in active action with life, but just know that you're not stuck. Life is always evolving and changing, and that brings me comfort sometimes when I feel like everything has to change. No, like you said, what is one thing?
Yeah.
And then the last thing that came up for me is the becoming your own best friend piece with this second half of wanting more acceptance of myself and my life. I think a lot of it is what can you do to start to connect with yourself in a different way of what is in my life, or what is it about my life and myself right now that I do love? What are the attributes of myself that I'm really proud of? How can I start to treat myself like I would my best friend or my closest family member or someone that I really, really love? Because I think acceptance of myself or acceptance of yourself is a huge piece towards, everything that we talk about on this show. And of course, it's a practice and not always easy, but learning to just be a little less hard on yourself day after day after day is certainly a worthwhile practice.
I love that, Michelle. And here's a practice that I've been using lately, and you're going to be probably a little bit surprised about this. There's an Eastern saying, they haven't been able to attribute it to Rumi or an Arab proverb, but they really haven't narrowed it down to one particular person that said it. But it's very common. Maybe you've already heard it. And when you're being really hard on yourself, it's really getting a hold of the thoughts in the mind. Mm-hmm. I know we talk about that a lot, but this is a new way that I found to really talk back to myself and get a hold of the thoughts in the mind. And with this person, with this question, you just sit with yourself, or every time a thought in the mind says you've got to reinvent yourself, you've got to remake yourself, you've got to change this, you've got to do, like, gotta, I have to do this. Oh my gosh. And that overwhelm, just take a pause and ask yourself, is it true? Is this thought true? Is this thought kind? And is this thought necessary? It has really had a huge effect on me, just asking those questions, because we have to, I call the thoughts in the mind, I call the mind a tricky customer.
Yep.
And I call the thoughts in the mind, they're very tricky, and they can kind of slide in there, and we believe them right away, and we're off and running with that, and I've got to reinvent my whole self. Wait a minute, is this true?
Yeah.
Do I really need to especially if you're in this framework and this groundedness of wanting to become your own best friend and wanting to be kinder and more gentle to yourself. Is this true? No. Is it kind? Absolutely not. And is it necessary? Not really. So what I'm finding is this kind of opens the door a little bit to being more curious. Okay, if it's not true, if it's not kind, if it's not necessary, then what is it? Mm-hmm. Well, it's possibly the door opening to, creating that one small step that you can take to get to where it is you're trying to go. Or maybe I need to look at, what do I value most? And what would be one thing about my life, as I said in the beginning, that would bring me joy or make me happy or make me smile or, be something that would, help me become more successful. That one little thing.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah. Is it
Actually,
true?
that's in my book too.
I thought so.
Always bring it back to my book. But
no, because I thought so.
Yeah.
Is it true? Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary?
Yeah.
Because if it's false, it kind of stops right there.
Yeah.
But then if it's true, okay, maybe it is true, but is it kind?
Right. Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Next question is a good one for you. How do you stay disciplined in your practice? I'm struggling with consistency and sometimes find self-care boring.
So you pick, self-care may be a little boring. I've heard this from people, I don't want to say often, but enough. And for me, if self-care is boring, it means that two things. It means that you're trying to do too much and you're just kind of all around, because when we're trying to do too much and we're all around, I know this has happened to me in my life, not with my self-care practice, but in general. If I'm all over the place, I'll say this to you, Michelle, I'm very distracted. Oftentimes if I say, oh, I'm very distracted, and then because I'm kind of bored. So you know what, how am I trying to say this? That sometimes being very distracted is what makes it boring. Because you can't land in one particular place. You're all over the place.
Got it.
And so it's almost like what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Am I bored so I become more distracted, or am I distracted and then I'm bored? And for me, it's been I'm distracted and then I'm bored. And for me, boredom means I've kind of lost my sense of groundedness, or I've lost my sense of place. So you could tell the look on your face.
No,
is like,
I'm taking it in.
Where in the world is she going
No, I'm
with
taking
this?
it in.
Because I'm being moved to say these things because it feels like if we are bored, we're not present.
Well, because I have an interesting
And so for me,
thought
if
about
I'm
being
bored, it means I'm distracted and I'm not present. So boredom is a default because I rarely feel bored. I don't label things boring. I label them usually 99% if I'm not present, distracted. I can't do two things at once. I'm distracted. So I feel boredom comes from being distracted, and we can't really focus and be landed in one particular place.
And what came up for me with boredom is I think being bored does have a space for us. And I don't think we let ourselves or value boredom. Like we talked about this in the first episode of the year of patience and instant gratification, where we want to be constantly entertained and engaged with and get those dopamine hits of like social media and text messages and constantly in communication with people. So where if there's space of nothingness, so to speak, where there's the opportunity of boredom, like we don't value it or take it in as something that has a place in our lives. So we try and like quickly exit out of it. And I think I can think of times when I was a kid and being bored, and like in those moments of being bored where you had to lean in on creativity or curiosity or connection with yourself. Okay, I'm kind of unfulfilled right now. What do I want to do with my time? And ask yourself what is next. And I think because, like you said, there's distraction. We have so much distraction at our disposal. We bypass it and just go to the next autopilot thing.
I think we're kind of saying the same thing. I just want to clarify. So I love what you said. So when the word boredom comes up and I'm feeling bored, it's a reminder that, oh, let me get curious about what I could be doing now.
Yeah, boredom for me
is a gateway to something
curiosity.
else. Boredom is a gateway to curiosity. I love that. And I think
and connection then.
And
ultimately.
connection. I think it's when I said that I never relate to boredom because I don't use that word.
So you're such a
No,
but I mean, you in your childhood, in your life, like you were so busy.
Always.
I think that, was a different experience for you.
Exactly. It was a different experience. But I like what you're saying, because if I were to use that word, because there are times when there's nothingness.
Yeah.
So there's either nothingness because I'm enjoying the nothingness in the present moment, or it's a gateway to curiosity. I love that. And I think now we put it back to her. She's talking about her practice.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So that's why, for me, that's where I went to the distraction route. So I guess you're right. I need to finish that route that I had. If you're bored in your practice, for me, it's distraction. It's not fulfilling enough because you're expecting the result to be happening right now. So so maybe that is, if you could use that boredom as a gateway to curiosity. I'm bored in my practice right now. What could I be doing differently, or what could I be doing with my practice? Because this is something that I really want. It's not always going to be easy.
Yeah.
Starting a practice, It's not the longevity of the practice, really. It's the consistency of it. So you want to do a little bit every day. Am I trying to do too much? So I would ask yourself the question, are you trying to do too much? And it's overwhelming and now I'm bored because I can't do it. Often for me, if I were to think about a word boredom, so I use distraction for boredom. I just can't help it. I just do. So if I were to think about the word boredom, it means that I'm distracting myself because I can't do what I'm trying to do because I'm trying to do too much. It's overwhelming. It's like all these words go to there. But I like the idea of using boredom, if you're feeling that feeling of boredom, feeling the feeling, and now what, as a gateway to curiosity. So if I wasn't bored, what would I be doing right now? Or asking yourself some of the questions. Am I trying to do too much? Really, and understanding that it's the consistency of every single day, not the amount of time or the amount of bulk of things that you're trying to do in your spirit, in your practice.
Yeah.
So pare it down and say, I used to say to myself out of treatment, I can do anything for one day that I couldn't do for a lifetime. Because thinking about doing something for a lifetime, or thinking about, if you're just starting a practice, doing something for 30 minutes, overwhelmed, I can't do that. So now I'm bored because I'm trying and I know that I can't do it. So I think the simple answer, or the easiest answer, would be to look at what you're trying to do. Can you simplify it? Can you make it shorter? Can you do something? Can you say to yourself, I can do anything for these 1 minute, for this 1 minute, or for these 5 minutes, or for this little practice of repeating an affirmation that maybe if you asked me to do this for 20 minutes a day, I couldn't. Like, figure out what can you do?
Yeah.
Because I think it's the success. So it's the success. It's the doing it that makes it not boring. It's the doing it like, oh my gosh, I just had a terrible negative thought and I repeated this affirmation over and over for about 30 seconds. And now I don't have that thought anymore. Like, maybe it's what you say, Michelle, noticing the tiny joys or the tiny wins.
Yeah. I think too, what came up for me with this question is, I think if you're finding self-care boring, that maybe it's a sign that you have gone into kind of like an autopilot kind of mentality with your routines, and maybe you're doing them because someone told you should do them, or you're doing them because you think you should do them. And maybe it's a signal to check in with yourself and be like, what are the practices that are actually self-care or that care for me? Because when I read this question, I resonated with it a lot, because there was a period of time when I was in my 20s and I was kind of looking to all of these people to kind of guide me with what are the best self-care practices. And so I kind of emulated what everyone else was doing, like drink this green juice in the morning, do this practice here, do this, do this. And because I was kind of letting it be dictated to me rather than something that I kind of started from the inside, it could be boring, because I'm like, I'm just doing this. Like, I don't know why I'm doing this. Someone else said that it was a good thing to do. So maybe check in, like, what are your practices and do you actually feel connected to them? Because I've now found the ones that really work for me, that are meaningful for me, ones that I wouldn't necessarily want to miss or skip. And it doesn't feel so much like discipline. And as a side for that piece, like, maybe redefine how you're using these words with self-care, because discipline feels so like rigid and strict. And I think, with a practice, yes, you want to keep yourself on track, but just knowing that if this is something that you want to do and that will make you feel better or help you to feel better about yourself, just think of it as like prioritizing yourself, and like you want to do that. And that really helped me with keeping on track. And like you said, maybe I'm doing too much. There was probably a time where I was taking something from everyone's self-care habits, and it was like an all-day thing, when I would think about it. I'm like, this is, who can sustain this? So thinking about like how it can be sustainable, what really resonates with you, and what does it actually mean to care for you? Because so often we talk about it, or we hear people talk about self-care, and it's their practices, but what works for me might not work for you, or what work for you. So it's really, I think, an invitation to just check in and like, what would actually be something that makes you feel better.
And that's why I always bring up the example of affirmation repetition as a practice, because the results are immediate. remember, a negative and a positive thought can't exist in the mind at the same time. So if you intercept that negative thought with an affirmation, you've stopped the negativity. And if you think about that, if I just do that for a minute or two, or if I do that whenever I think about it, just that whole thing, you start to see the benefits right away. It matters that you see the benefit of the work that you're doing. And so sticking with one and seeing, how it goes. And I think the affirmation repetition is one of the key ones where you can actually see the benefits right away. You actually can say, oh my gosh, I just thought a negative thought and I intercepted it with an affirmation. This too shall pass, because I've been ruminating about breaking up with my boyfriend or going through my divorce. And all of a sudden that thought was gone for that second or for that moment.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, it worked.
Yeah.
And now I just have to keep practicing, little by little by little.
I love it. I'm going to kind of combine this next question because these are very similar topics. So someone asked, there's so much talk about weight loss, body image, and dieting. And then another question is also about dry January and those kinds of societal expectations. How do I navigate these triggering topics of conversation? And then this other one is, how do I navigate the societal expectations and peer pressure with my, goals and ideals? So I think ultimately it's like this is the time of year where we are kind of bombarded with sometimes toxic conversations, especially dieting, body image, drinking. And it can feel like we're pressured to do specific things or participate in specific, dry January or, 30-day fitness, whatever. And just how do you handle that conversation, really?
So is that what the person's asking? How to handle the
How do I navigate
conversation,
these
or how do I navigate it for myself?
How do I navigate these triggering topics of discussion?
So I think I want to get clear. Here's why I want to get clear. I am a master. I have become a master of changing the subject and being able to navigate my way through difficult conversations. A master. And I'll talk about all of that. But also, though, what matters most and why I've become a master at that is because I don't allow other people's opinions and other people's judgments and other people's thoughts, especially about weight, about food, about what else is in there? The dry January to me is a different thing.
Well, okay, I can speak to that.
But let's separate that. You can speak to that, but let's separate that. So when it comes to weight, food, diet, anything that has to do with the body, clothes.
Drinking does too, but yeah.
No, I know drinking does too, but to me it's a separate thing. I become a master because I already know my values and my thoughts about my body. I already know about food. I already know about diet. I already know everything. I already have my own values and my own opinions and my own ways of navigating my own body at 69 years old. Sorry. Wow. I knew that was going to...
You like to age yourself.
At 69 years old. And I've been through a lot. You all know that I've been through treatment with bulimia. I've run the gamut of weight and looks and all of that. So I have zero tolerance for being in a conversation like that. And it's not that that I'm rude or that I'm, causing friction and all of that kind of stuff. If it's a toxic conversation, I will excuse myself, or I will say, this is not a comfortable conversation. Can we change the topic? And 90% of the time, that doesn't happen often because people know me, but 90% of the time people say, sure, what do you want to talk about? But in that 10% of the time when it doesn't work that way, if someone's talking about it, I don't take in the energy of it. I don't think that I need to defend it. I don't think that I need to have an answer for it. I don't think that I want to talk about it. I wait till the person is done talking and then I change the subject. They'll say whatever it is they're going to say, and I'll look at someone else and I'll say, how was your trip to Japan? I heard that you just went to Japan recently, and that is on the top of my bucket list. And if someone brings it back to, but wait a minute, Barb, we were talking about this, I'll just say, you know what? We all have our own opinions about weight loss and diets and body images and everything. That's just not something that's fun to talk about. Mm-hmm. It's not something that's in the best interest of all of us to talk about, because that's not what we're here for as friends, really, or that's not what we're at a conversation for. Mm-hmm. Because in my mind, it never comes up at a time when it's appropriate. It never comes up at a time when it's needed to be talked about. So you just, instead of taking it personally, you have to know your own, let me back up because I do get a little bit worked up about this topic. Know your own guidelines and know your own boundaries and know your own truth about what it is about weight, about diet, about looks, about the body, all of that. Know how you feel about it and set the parameters of what you need to say and what you need to do to take care of yourself. To be your own best friend at this particular juncture of a conversation. And don't waver from it. And don't take in the energy of it. And don't feel bad about that you're not okay with it. I don't feel the slightest bit bad if somebody starts talking to me about diets.
Yeah.
I just say, that's not my thing. Let's talk about something else. And I'm very easy breezy with it. I don't say it in a very mean or like, oh, are you crazy? I don't roll my eyes. My body language is very gentle. Wow, that's just not my thing. What about your kids? I heard one of them just passed the SAT and is going to college. Whatever it is, I'm a genius at that.
You are good at changing the subject.
Especially when it comes to something that I already feel grounded in, I already feel okay about. And if you don't already feel okay about it, if you could be brave enough, it's a group of people that you can be brave enough to say, it's not a comfortable topic for me.
Yeah.
Could we just move on to something else? I'd rather talk about your trip. Or I'd rather talk about what are you cooking for dessert for the holidays. It's just, you really have to be creative.
Yeah.
It takes time. It just didn't happen for me overnight. It takes time. It takes effort. But it's well worth it. It's a worthwhile journey to be comfortable with yourself enough to be able to stand up for yourself on the inside, not on the outside, on the inside, enough to say, I'm good. Let's talk about something else.
Yeah. And I think that's an important point of, if you know that you're going to be in a situation where people are, talking about body image or pressuring you or even just, there's so much conversation about thinness and body acceptance and just how people feel like they should look right now. And I think this is why I thought it tied in with the drinking. Like if you're feeling pressured or you feel like you're going into an environment or social environment where you feel like you might be pressured or, your values might be put in question by a group of people, like just, know your boundaries and know your values and know what you want and kind of prepare yourself with something that you would say back to someone, especially with the drinking question, because this person says they're trying dry January, but they feel like they might want to remain sober. There's societal expectations and peer pressure to drink, like that kind of thing. And so if this is something, especially with the dry January, that's important to you, like either maybe avoid those kinds of social environments while you're testing it out, because I think it's important to feel confident within yourself while you're trying something new, but B, have a response in your back pocket of, not for me today, but maybe next time or whatever the thing might be, because especially in the new year when we're doing resolutions and intentions, like nothing feels worse than like betting against yourself or going against a promise or a commitment that you made to yourself because you felt pressured to do it because of someone else. So just be gentle with yourself, have grace for yourself, take extra good care of yourself, and know that no matter what, with body image or diet or what you look like or your habits, like you're always enough. There's nothing wrong with you. And what other people's opinions or beliefs or ideas, they don't say anything about you. It's more about them. And just remember what's true for you.
I love that, Michelle. You handle it brilliantly. If you want to talk a little bit.
I was lucky.
What I wanted to say about that is exactly having something in your back pocket to say. Having something in your back pocket all the time. That could be we're going to do the back pocket practice.
Well, we have an emotional well-being toolkit.
Yep, we do. We have an emotional well-being toolkit. And this is in the back pocket. And I remember you and I were in Italy for a wedding. Mm-hmm. And we were sitting at a table and the waiter came up and said, "Can I get you a drink?" And you said, "Do you have any mocktails?" And he pointed to something that wasn't a mocktail. I don't know if he didn't quite, maybe there was a language, something, whatever it was. And he said, "Would you like this?" And you said, "No, I don't drink." And that was just so easy. It was like an easy breezy. And I was sitting there and like, and he goes, oh, okay. And then moved on. And I think that because it was so easy breezy with you and it was just so natural, no, I don't drink. Now, maybe this person isn't quite at that step, but if this is what you want to do, I think it goes in alignment with what you were saying. Be in alignment with your own truth. Know that if this is true, find some way that you can just say it. Nope, I don't drink.
Yeah.
And you don't owe anyone any explanation. That waiter didn't go any further. He didn't say why. Oh, what caused you? There was nothing like that. So if someone would say, oh, how come? Just say, I just don't want to. And then you change the subject and you just move on. Like, don't feel the pressure that you have to explain yourself. We do that too often. And the same thing goes with food. I became a vegetarian in 1998, which was a shock. A shock to my family, shock to everyone around me. And in 1998, there weren't too many vegetarians that wasn't talked about. And a lot of restaurants didn't have it. Anyway, I'm not someone who announces anything. I quietly live my own life in many ways like that. And so when the waiter came around, I ordered what I ordered and they said, do you want shrimp or whatever with it? And I said no. And they said, oh, come on, you really have to have it. It's really good. And I said, oh, I'm a vegetarian. The whole table was like, what? And he said, oh. And so fine, he respected that and he walked away. And then one of the people at the table said, why are you a vegetarian? Do you think that you need to lose weight? And I said, no, it's an animal thing for me. And that was it. Like, I didn't feel like I needed to defend it, but I said, no, it's just an animal thing for me. And it kind of just went away. And I'm not saying that it would always be that easy, because it's not easy. It can be difficult at times, but just being grounded in your own truth.
Yeah.
And saying it so simply, that it didn't invoke any more conversation. So,
Yeah.
But it's a trial and error. You're going to make some mistakes.
Yeah.
People are going to get frustrated with you, or you're going to get frustrated with other people and stuff. And you just I like the easy breezy route, not taking it all personally, and don't get too offended with other people, and don't worry if other people get offended by you. Like it's a trial and error type of a thing. And you said the magic words, being kind to yourself.
Yeah. Last one. I know. How do you redefine or shift how you view goals? I want to accomplish goals this year, but I don't want to be unrealistic or burn myself out. I don't want to get too comfortable, but I also want to make progress. How do I find balance and approach my goals with ease? You want me to go first?
I think so, yes, because I'm older.
Yeah.
And I have a whole different mindset. When I was younger, yes, you go first.
What comes up for me is, and this is going to sound so boring and annoying and very textbook, but I think the clarity that I feel like this person who's asking this question is looking for is like, maybe it would be helpful to do like a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, like break down big goals, small goals, medium goals, bite-sized goals, and really just get a clearer picture of like what really matters to you. Again, how do you want to feel? Because sometimes I could say right now, I want to write a book or I want to be a published author. But now that I am a published author and I've been through it, realistically, that's not necessarily something that can happen in 1 year. So if I said by the end of 2026, I want to have a published book, I might be setting myself up for disappointment and failure, because realistically speaking, at least from my experience, that's not generally how the timelines of books work. So that would be something that would probably be a 5-year goal. And so just starting to get a little organized with the things that you really want to cultivate or achieve, tapping into the feelings that you want to have, and being realistic, to use this person's words, with what is feasible within a calendar year, what is something that maybe you want to be like slowly working towards, and what are, the everyday shifts that I can make to just feel better about myself from the inside out. Again, like the becoming your own best friend thing, because I resonate a lot with like not wanting to feel too comfortable where you're just coasting. And while, like I said at the beginning of this episode, like the only constant in life is change, we do also have to be like active participants if there are things that we wish to create. And so I find that clarity, writing down, our desires and kind of mapping it out in like not a strict or rigid timeline, but in what is realistic for what that could look like, can let you off the hook of feeling like you have to like push yourself and burn out and then set yourself up for disappointment. But then also breaking down like what are the small actions you can take on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis that can help you feel like you're moving forward.
I like that. I think really the only thing that I would add is I think sometimes we get too caught up, and I know we've talked about this in other episodes with the word purpose. And so I don't necessarily think that we have a purpose in life. I think that we have lots of purposes.
Yeah.
Whatever moment we're being called to, that's our purpose for whatever it is we're supposed to do in every moment. So I don't use that word, purpose. But I do ask myself, what do I want? And I think you said that. Like, sit down and what do I want?
Yeah.
Like, what do I really, 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 really want?
Yeah, I love that.
And what are my values? Those are the two things that I would say when I look back on my life. If someone said, are you living the life that I always thought that I wanted to live here the life that I came here to live. I've been on this path for 40 years, all that kind of stuff. And I would say, yes, I am. Am I living my purpose? No, I don't think that I'm going to find my purpose and then live it. I feel like I'm living what I want. I'm living the life that I want to live. I'm living a life of my dreams.
Yeah.
I often thought that I wanted to live a life where I was, comfortable and loving myself and comfortable in my own skin and learning and growing and becoming the best version of me. All those things that we talk about, and then sharing that with others, because I do want to help move humanity forward, and I do want to serve humanity, and I want to serve like all the things that we're doing.
Yeah. I like that.
This is what I've wanted. So it isn't that I'm living my purpose or that my purpose found me or that I'm just I'm not waiting around looking for it. This is what I want. And I have very certain values. Other than that, everything else changes. Like I love what you said, like have those little benchmarks. Like I'm going to do this first. So this is what I want. So this is what I'm going to do first. This is going to be the first action that I take.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose to do this because this is what I want. And I'm going to take this action. Then I'm going to take this action. And it truly is. And I said, I'll let you go first because, I am 69. It truly is the journey.
Yeah.
Like I love the work that I'm doing, and it's not because I've gotten to the destination.
Right.
It's all the mile markers along the way. We're doing a podcast, and you launched your book, and it's
like the next right action.
It's the next right action, and life truly does unfold when you take that first step and you start to accomplish that first step. It's unbelievable how the light's going to shine on the next step. What is that? Martin Luther King Jr. said,
you can't
see the whole staircase. You can only see the first step. And I believe when you take the first step, once you start moving through the first step, the light starts to shine on the second step.
Yeah. And I love that it starts with asking yourself what you want.
Yeah.
And connecting with yourself.
And having your values.
Being your own best friend.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah. Thank you.
A perfect encapsulation of this month and starting off 2026 and everything we talked about. So I love it.
Me too.
Thanks, Mom. And thank you so much to our listeners and our viewers for asking questions. Always, if you have something that you want us to talk about or clarify or dive deeper into, you can send us a message, send us an email, anywhere on social media. We'd love to hear from you. So keep sending in your questions. And thank you so much for those of you who have submitted yours already. And thank you, Mom, for everything as always. And we will chat with you next week.